So ergonomics, there are many, many working definitions. This is the one we're going to go with today, that it's workplace design in order to optimize human well-being and overall systems performance. In other words, you are at the center of the story, and we have to design your workplace around you and your needs. It's not about 90-degree angles, which is what a lot of people think it is about. It's about how you feel and small changes that you can make to feel better. Ergonomics is also called human factors engineering. We focus on the human factor in order to feel better. So let's get into why bother. Why does good ergonomics matter? We're talking about well-being today. So an unpleasant feeling at work is going to prevent you from working as long as you want. Maybe that means going back to work in the evening, but you can't do it because you know that it's going to cause you a terrible, unpleasant feeling somewhere in your body. If you have discomfort, pain, or injury, it's going to affect your productivity. And that is why employers pay for their employees to have ergonomic assessments. Musculoskeletal injury is cumulative. In other words, you may not be feeling the pain today, but it's adding up. It's adding up over the long hours and the long years. So if we get things at the preventive stage, of course, that's where we always want to be. Now, this also go back to what Telly was saying. The body was made for movement. So if we were doing a quantified ergonomic risk and putting you in a risk category between 1 and 7, we could automatically drop you down a category by getting rid of maintained static postures. It's the easiest thing you can do to reduce your overall ergonomic risk. Get up and move. That's one way. Take more frequent breaks. Alternate your working postures. We'll get into some solutions and some suggestions afterwards. The reason you have to do that is because movement in your leisure time, although it's good for your overall health and sense of well-being, and we all have to do it and we all want to do it, it doesn't compensate you for those long hours of maintained static posture. So even if you go to the gym every day after work, believe it or not, it might not be as good to reduce your ergonomic risk as getting up for 2 minutes every half hour. And Telly used these exact same words. Small changes can make a huge difference. That's the beauty of ergonomics. The purpose of the small changes is not only to move more, but also to encourage neutral postures, which we'll get back into. All photos, by the way, that I'm using are used with permission. This is my own son-in-law. There are actually, he's very tall, and standard furniture doesn't really fit him. So this is how he really works. This is an example of bad workplace ergonomics. So we're talking about noticing, increasing your ergonomic awareness to have a better sense of well-being, noticing that you have to make some changes. So number one, if you're experiencing pain or discomfort that's getting worse from work, it's time to make some changes. If you have a work-related upper limb disorder, for our purposes, upper limb starts basically anything above the pelvis. So that means low back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, tennis elbow, that could be work-related, carpal tunnel syndrome, everybody knows, trigger finger, any kind of finger, wrist, arm, neck pain, and you're working at a computer. And I forgot to mention that I am a computer ergonomics specialist. There's also factory ergonomics or sleeping ergonomics. It's connected to everything. But I look at people, how they work at the computer. So if you have a repetitive strain disorder, and that could be similar, but it's not exactly the same thing as an upper limb disorder. It's time to make some changes. If something in your workplace setup is preventing you from working in neutral postures, you have to change that setup. We're going to talk, and I'm going to explain exactly what neutral postures are. But we could be talking about, let's say, a broken chair that doesn't go high enough to allow you to work with your arms at the correct height in relationship to your table, so that your shoulders and your wrists cannot be at neutral posture. So could be a broken table. It could be a monitor that's stuck in the corner, even though you want to look in front of you and your neck is hurting, but the cables are too short and you don't know how to fix that problem. So it could be something in your setup, okay? If your body just doesn't feel good at your workplace, if there's some kind of non-specific annoyance below the radar, that's a sign that something has to be changed. If you work long hours and maintain static postures. Now, this could be a matter of habit or this could be a matter of work. First of all, working long hours, more than, believe it or not, 6 hours a day is considered to increase your risk. But I'm almost taking that as a given that we all work the number of hours that we need to work. And I'm not suggesting anybody work less hours, but you have to break up the maintained static postures. That can be by breaks and that can be by alternating your working postures. You can alternate between sitting and standing, or some people put a treadmill under their desk. A very easy thing that most people can do is to get a wireless headset and walk around during meetings or when you're on the phone, but not on camera. If you work on a laptop without an external riser, which, by the way, the minute you're on an external riser, it necessitates using an external keyboard and mouse. If your main computer workstation is a laptop, you have to, and sitting directly on a desk, not on a riser, you must make some changes because it's not possible. And the taller a person is, the worse it is. It's not really possible to work correctly on a laptop. They were never meant to be someone's main workstation. If you work from a bed or a sofa, there really is no safe way to do that. You have to make some changes. And if you're working at a dining room table and you haven't made adjustments to your to your height ratios to allow for that, you need to make some changes. The average dining room table is the recommended work surface height for a person who's 6'3", okay? So if you moved home, let's say if you had an office, or maybe in the best case scenario, you had an office that was had good ergonomic setup, and you moved to working from home during Corona, or you're just working at home off a dining room table, you have to make some adjustments. And by the way, at the end, you can send me an email and I'll send you some very, very short YouTube clips that show you some simple and inexpensive ways to just adjust for that situation. Okay. So let's we talked about the risks from prolonged static postures. And by the way, what are those risks? We're all working in this forward body posture. The risks are they start out as risks to connective tissues, which stay in a contracted position, but it ends up that risk over time, if the connective tissue, that means tendons and muscles and everything, if those things stay contracted, it eventually affects your, it starts muscular, goes skeletal. It's eventually going to affect posture in a way that can't be reversed. So we want to reduce the risk from prolonged static postures. Now, this is great, but the only problem with this picture is that she's in a chair, and in general, any stretches that get you out of your chair and away from your desk are better than stretches you do in your chair at your desk. However, it's not always possible to get away from the desk. Okay, so ways to reduce the risk. Number one, increase your ergonomic awareness. When I do a risk assessment on somebody and I list mitigating factors, high ergonomic awareness is a mitigating factor. Okay. You want to work supported from the ground up. This is a principle from yoga and also ergonomics, that in every pose there has to be stability and ease. And since it's not really possible, ease is the result. So we want more ease in the upper body. We need more stability in the lower body. That means feet supported firmly on the floor, thighs supported, lower back supported. If your legs are on one side of your pelvis and your back and upper body, or neck and upper back, are on the other side of the pelvis, if your lower body isn't doing the work, the upper body has to do the work. So it's a trade-off there. You want to work with neutral postures. We're going to illustrate them in a minute. You want to alternate your working postures if possible. We discussed it. I mean, there's a million things you can do. Not all of them are expensive. For example, a physio ball might work for somebody, or a treadmill under your desk. There are all kinds of things. A height adjustable desk, of course, is a very working. Mixing up your postures all day is ideal. You want to adjust your setup and habits to work in the neutral postures. Okay. Setup means the way things are arranged on their desks. Habits is of course, the hardest thing to change, right? Everybody wants a new chair. but a new chair can never solve anybody's problems, even if it's like the perfect chair for you. It's an awareness of how you use that chair. And you must take frequent breaks. This is something that everybody, aside from, for example, coders, people who write code, are never going to do this. And that's something I learned. You can't convince someone who refuses to take frequent breaks because of the nature of their work to take a frequent break. So if there's something you cannot do, that's just not appropriate for you, then you have to do some of these other ways to reduce risk. If you can't take frequent breaks because it will be too hard to get back to that place that you were at in solving the problem, then you're going to have to alternate your working postures or make sure that they're neutral, because of course, maintained static postures are going to be even riskier if your postures are not neutral. And you might want to use break reminder software, if not to take a break, then at least to notice what's going on with your posture. Okay, get up and move and stretch in the middle of the day. So this is how we should work. All right, so this photo here shows support from the bottom up. The feet are supported on a footrest. Footrest just brings the ground to you. 2 feet firmly supported on a stable surface. Thighs and pelvis are supported here by sitting into the back of the chair, and so is her trunk. That allows ease in the shoulders and arm. Okay, this is neutral. Okay, we want to work with the forearms supported. It doesn't matter at all if your forearms are supported on the desk or the armrest of your chair. If you're not supported from below, if you're not supported from below, we said if you're not supported from your lower body, your upper does the work. If you're not supported from below your forearms, your shoulders and neck are going to have to do the work. So we want to make sure the forearms are supported. That's a must. Okay, your hand extends in the same line as your forearm. In other words, that's called a wrist neutral posture. That means your hand should be like this, not like this. Like, for example, if you're working with your elbow above the wrist, let's say you're standing and your computer is on your kitchen counter, that's not a neutral wrist posture. Okay, if your elbow is too low and you're working like this, that is not a neutral wrist posture. So it's very important that you're working, your hand is extending in the same line as the forearm. That's neutral wrist and neutral neck postures. Okay, and if you're not working in neutral neck postures, you're probably going to feel it. A neutral neck posture is looking directly in front of you with your body, the midline of your body lined up, let's say, to the middle of your screen. And you don't, if your screen is too high and you're extending your neck, that is not a neutral neck posture. If you're looking down at your laptop that's on the table, that's not a neutral neck posture. And if you're looking to the left or to the right, it's not neutral. And if you stack those awkward postures one on top of the other, your wrist goes factorial. Okay, so this is how we work. Probably many of us, all of us sometimes, and this is how we should work. And oh, sorry about that. I'm going to, after this slide, we're getting into a few stretches. So this is the low height of the laptop that's dragging everything forward here. And here you see on the right, the person has got their 2 feet on the surface. There are things I don't love here. His forearms are not supported. These are the armrests of his chair, which are down here. But you can see that raising the laptop height allows him to raise up his neck and work in more or less neutral postures. I do want to have some time here to get into some stretches. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we got 4 minutes left. Okay.
Okay, fine. So then I'm going to have to just fly through this. This is a simple spinal stretch. This is working on this, creating space between the discs of your spine here. She's well supported by the feet. Unfortunately, she's still in her chair. Here, this getting out of the chair alone, that's a great thing. And the idea here is that by activating her lower body, she's giving the upper body a rest. This is something that we need to do if we're hunched forward, for closed forward body postures. Open up the chest. These poses can be a simple way of doing this pose is just grabbing your alternate elbow with alternate hand behind your body. Again, standing is great. This is a shoulder opener, and a really easy way to do this is just stick your hand against the wall and bring the elbow forward. You can put your other hand on the shoulder to feel the opening in the shoulder. These are some easy shoulder and neck stretches. What I like here is the neck is doing only one motion at a time. We start with only turning the neck. Look how good the shoulder stretch feels here. And then here we lean. We don't combine turning and leaning until we first turn and then lean, okay? Here is a nice shoulder opener. This is asymmetric shoulder work. It's opening the top shoulder and external rotation in the top shoulder, internal. This is what our upper body is screaming out for. It would be better to do all of these stretches in a standing position rather than in a sitting one. Oh, sorry. This is a good chance to remind you just to stop and breathe. And it's the advantage here by pressing your hands together. You're also stretching your wrists. If that's not accessible, you get a similar benefit just from giving yourself a big hug. You can even press your shoulder blades into your hands here. Again, this pose could be done standing up, getting out of the chair. You can use the stretches as an opportunity. And by the way, it's one of the beauties of working from home is that you can stretch in the middle of the day and nobody has to see you, and you can do it as often as you want. We might as well take advantage of what working from home has to offer in that regard. Okay, this is wrist stretch. I wouldn't do this if you were working.
Just under 2 minutes left.
Oh, fine. Okay. I wouldn't do this if you're working with your wrist in an extended position. We want to stretch the contrapose to the way we work. If we're working forward with a closed chest, we open the chest. If you're working like this all the time, you may want to do the opposite stretch. You try and stretch in the opposite way that you work. And oh yeah, this, if you want to contact me, this is an ebook that I put out, or you can just get it from my website at the bottom here. Go under blog and scroll down. It's the ergonomics of working from home. It's tips on how to adjust your dining room table working station, or you could contact me and I will send you some just generic stuff from YouTube, short practical clips on how to basically work better so that you can feel better. It's not just feeling better in your body, it's feeling good in your body and feeling good about yourself. We spend a lot of hours at the computer, and we can, just by increasing our awareness, use that time to have a better sense of well-being. I really do believe in it with my whole heart. So thank you again, Leslie, for this opportunity. I hope it was helpful.